Hi. Okay, we're back. We just finished talking about finding common denominators. Now we're going to look at finding the least common denominator by looking at multiples. And by finding the least common denominator, it's going to help you, you have to learn how to use this technique to add and subtract fractions, which we'll be doing, reviewing again tomorrow on the videos, okay? But let's first talk about the least common denominator. Also known as LCD. Also known as least common multiple. So if you look at your paper that you should have in front of you right now, we're going to look at the first problem, 1/2 and 5/8. So we're going to look at those two fractions and we're going to put them into common denominators using equivalent fractions, okay? So let's look at 1/2 and we're going to look at 5/8. Our denominators are halves and eighths, and they're not common, so we need to make them the same so that they have the same size piece, as we've talked about before. The best way to find that is, if you just want to double check your work always, is to use the multiples chart, which I know you did a little bit of this last week. If you want to do this on your, or actually I have it written down already, don't I? Now, if we kept going, 14, 16, I ran out of room here, but you can see that 16 is a common multiple, but it's not the least common multiple. In this case, we see that 8 is the least common multiple, also known as the LCD. So we're going to put these fractions both into eighths. So then we can compare them, look at them, and know that they're both in common denominators, so then we could add them or subtract them if we needed to. But for today, we're just going to put them into common denominators. So we have 1/2, and we're going to use the magic 1. We're going to use eighths. So think about, how do we go from here to here? 4/4, 4/8 is equal to 1/2. You also know 4/8 is equal to 1/2 because 4 is half of 8. We also have 5/8. 5/8, though, already is an eighth, so we're just going to leave it as is. So now our renamed fractions are 4/8 and 5/8 actually stayed the same. These have common denominators using the least common denominator of eighths, okay? And if you see, that's what we have here too. So let's go ahead and look at number 2. If you want to go ahead and start filling out the multiples of 6 and 9 and see if you can figure out what is the common denominator for 6 and 9, okay? You can go ahead and pause this if you need to. I'm going to do it up here. Let's see, 6 and 9. I'm going to write out the multiples. Remember, multiples, M for multiple, M for many. There are many, many, many multiples, but there's only going to be one lowest common one. Do we see a common multiple yet? Well, 36 is a common multiple, isn't it? But is it the lowest? No, it is not. You should have noticed that 18 is also a common multiple. So we're going to change, what are we working with? 5/6 and 2/9. We're going to put both of these into 18ths as our common denominator because it is the lowest common denominator. And when we use that, the lowest common denominator, it makes adding and subtracting fractions much easier. So let's go ahead and do that by using the magic 1, which you know how to do. How do we go from here to here? 3/3 we know is equal to 1, so we're just renaming the fractions and we're not changing its value. 5 times 3 is 15, so 15/18 is equivalent to 5/6. Now we got to look at 2/9. I'm running out of room here. Let's do it over here. 2/9 times what equals, putting that into 18ths, times 2 over 2. So now our final answer would be 15/18 and 4/18. 18 is our least or lowest common denominator. And here we've created our equivalent fractions with those denominators. So that's your final answer for number 2. All right, go ahead and stop this video. The next video is going to have all the answers for 3 and 4. If you could stop, do them on your own, and then click on the next video to find out the answers for number 3 and 4, okay?